Welcome to What's Up at Work, the podcast that's all about real talk with the company leaders shaping Northeast Ohio's top workplaces. We're diving into the stories, strategies, and sometimes hilarious moments that come with creating the thriving teams that drive the region's most successful businesses forward. Whether it's a CEO sharing their leadership philosophy or an HR exec spilling their best people-first strategies, we're here to give you insights you can actually use to build a better workplace. Hit play and let's talk about what's really up at work. Welcome back to What's Up at Work, everybody. I am Sam Clyde Schroeder, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at ERC. And today we're talking about what it takes to develop people's confidence, judgment, and ability to keep learning through change. Today's guest is Dalithia Smith, Chief Human Resources Officer at Oatey Company. Dalithia brings a really thoughtful perspective on leadership, learning, culture, and the role that HR can play when it's truly connected to the business. In this episode, we get into AI, the relationship between CEO and CHRO, evidence-based HR, and why giving back to the community matters so much to her. Let's get into it. Dalithia, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right. So you lead HR at Oatey, an organization that's really focused on evolving and thinking about the future. And that's the same for a lot of businesses right now, obviously. Mm-hmm. Something that stands out to me about you, though, is your belief that building people's confidence, capability, and the ability to keep learning is what's ultimately going to drive businesses forward.
Definitely.
Why is that such a big focus for you?
It's a big focus because right now we are in a paradigm, if you will, where technology is rapidly changing. We have external political things going on. Right. We have different structures in organizations. Organizations are flattening. Some organizations are. There's a lot going on in our world. And confidence allows you and allows your team, allows organization, if you will, to really manage all of those things and to tackle them with grace. So confidence is critical for everyone.
And I would say that's a very evolved perspective compared to a lot of other organizations. And I'm curious what you think for those organizations who aren't there yet in terms of what you were just sharing. What are they risking by not putting a focus on confidence?
Yeah, they're risking having a long-term successful future, if you will, because there could be speed and execution from a short-term perspective. But if you're not building confidence in the team members that are executing on the strategy, eventually that's going to lead to deterioration of the skills that person has. It's going to lead to potentially burnout because it's just rapidly going at whatever is being thrown at them without potentially being very intentional about what they're doing, the decisions they're making, not having to rely on someone else to give them the answers and the decisions.
Yeah.
So confidence allows us to be more agile and allows organizations to navigate all the complexity that we're faced with without having to bring even more people on in order to be successful with whatever they're trying to accomplish.
And you leading HR, how do you see your role and your team fitting into building that confidence?
Yes. First and foremost, we have to know the strategy of the organization. What is the vision? Where are we going? What is the current landscape? And that's external, internal, financial, resources, all of the things that the organization is facing. We have to be really knowledgeable about that and then tie that to the people strategy. So based on what the organization is trying to accomplish, how do we ensure our associates or our employees are ready to take on those challenges? Do we need to build skills? Do we need to ensure that there's psychological safety so people can speak up and say, I don't necessarily understand, help me understand, and then I can perform. So we have to tie the HR strategy, the people strategy to the business strategy. Without the knowledge and awareness of the business strategy, the people strategy can't come together as it should.
And within Oatey specifically, what is your kind of way of approaching understanding that piece of the business?
You have to listen. You have to have ears open, eyes open, but you have to rely on relationships. And it can't be just trying to build a relationship at a moment in time. That should be ongoing, always partnering with other leaders within the organization. Reaching out to every level to understand what's going on from different audiences' perspective so you have a full view of what's going on, not just at the leadership level, not just at the middle management level, but at all levels.
I really like that. All right. So, Dalithia, one place that we're really seeing this concept of confidence needing to apply right now is within AI. And there's a lot of conversation about the tools themselves, but the more interesting question is what those tools are doing and to how people think and learn and make decisions, the impact that they're having. So when you think about AI, what are you paying attention to beyond the technology and the tools?
Yeah. The tools are out there. We hear every day there's new updates. This is going on with all the different tools. But what's really critical is ensuring that organizations are leveraging tools to increase the human capability, not replacing the human responsibility in how we use those tools. We don't want those tools to minimize our ability to make decisions. We have to leverage context. AI will spit out answers in seconds, but it takes the person, the human, to know how to decipher that information, how to validate its credibility. So AI is great. It's a tool. It's innovation. However, you can't have that without the human element. How are we going to take that information and massage it and really apply it in the best way that fits our organization and what we're trying to achieve? So for me, what's top of mind is not the tool, because the tools are there, but where I feel the organizations that are going to be most successful is supporting your team members, educating them on how to use AI responsibly, and ensuring that they don't lose critical thinking skills and capabilities, really being there for them. A lot of associates or employees are overwhelmed by everything that's out there. We have to make sure everyone is comfortable. We don't want to leave people behind because of AI.
Let's talk about the breakdown there, because something that we're finding is with so many generations in the workplace right now, AI and how it resonates with those groups is completely different.
Yes.
And having to teach them and have them adopt AI looks completely different.
Yes.
Something I'm finding is that the more AI is universally out there and being adopted, the real differentiator for people is their ability to interact when they are face-to-face with someone.
Exactly.
Because anyone can get anything out of AI, but the real test comes when you're sitting with someone and have to speak to it. How are you changing kind of the way that you're developing that younger group, or really any of your employees, based on that AI accessibility? Has anything changed with the way that you're developing communication skills, anything like that?
So communication skills are key. Whether it's having a conversation based on information that you gleaned from AI, knowing that you need to do a little bit of research, being able to answer questions, definitely always understanding the why behind something, or being able to explain the why. AI can give you surface level, but dig a little bit deeper. So teaching the skills and competencies that are needed for your job, that are needed for that next level if you're interested in continuing to grow, and how do you make sure you keep yourself relevant? So those people who don't want to embrace AI right now, they're going to be at a disadvantage in the very near future. Not every organization is looking to eliminate positions because of AI. However, if you don't get the skill and the competency to marry that with the output from AI, you're almost self-eliminating yourself from an organization.
Absolutely agree. And there's something a lot of our listeners like to know within an organization, what they're specifically doing to combat this. So I'm curious at Oatey, what your internal practice or approach is to teaching that judgment piece when using AI. How are you rolling that out within your own organization?
We do have an AI council, and that is representatives from across our enterprise that have embraced AI. They're identifying use cases. They share best practices when they gain some knowledge about a particular tool or a process. And we're actually leveraging our associates to teach each other. So that allows us to not have a top-down approach, not just the executive team saying, this is what you're going to do it. This is a all hands on deck, the enterprise saying, this is how we're using it. This is what's making us more efficient, more productive. These are the stumbling blocks that we had, and they're teaching that to their peers. That works in so many different ways. It increases the engagement level. People are having fun with it. But at the same time, we have a governance structure. So we teach our associates the proper use of AI, confidentiality in our data, the proper governing structure, what to put in there, what not to put in there, closed systems versus open systems. So all of those things, we're intentional with educating and ensuring that we're there to answer questions, because there's so much out there. There's bound to be questions, but we're also encouraging people who are a little bit more quiet.
Yeah.
Hey, speak up. What are you afraid of? Is there a fear? How do you want to use it? So we're just having open conversations and dialogue, and it's not a top-down approach. We're bringing everybody into the conversation, and it's been working well for us.
So I think I'm curious first where you started when you were approaching creating the AI policy. How did you educate yourself? What was important to you? All of those kinds of things.
Yeah, we rely heavily on our purpose, values, and vision. So we want to make sure that the tools that we embrace align with our culture, align with where we want to go for our organization, our strategic growth goals.
Yeah.
And then from there, we created a strategy. So right now, we have 2 tools that we embrace within the organization, if you will. That may grow, but we're starting small. We've learned that sometimes the fastest is not the best.
Yes.
We have a good pace going on, and as we see continued benefits, that's when we'll grow our program.
Right. And I think that the policies themselves, I'm curious, what are the most important pieces of Oatey's AI policies in general that you find are really keeping things on the rails?
Being very direct in our communication with respect to what not to put in an open system.
Yeah.
There's a lot of confidential information. We are a private organization. So it's really be responsible. Don't put data out there that you shouldn't. And actually don't just take data from AI without validating the accuracy of it. So that's really critical. We hear in the news all the time where someone, very
oopsies.
publicly, and we don't want any oopsies. So we really encourage our associates to use it, but you have to validate. You have to make sure it's true.
Absolutely. And I love, you mentioned that you were developing these policies at the leadership level and then obviously taking feedback from all of your employees. But looking at the leadership level, and you mentioned having insight into strategy, one of the things that I've always admired most about you is how adamant you've been about having a really transparent relationship between the CHRO and the CEO. HR needs a legitimate seat at the table, not just to be in the room, but to have a voice. And I'm curious how you've built that kind of credibility within your own organization with Neil Restivo is your CEO, and how you've built your relationship with him and how you've approached that, getting that voice in the room.
Yeah. From day one, and Neil is a great leader.
Yes.
I love working with him. From day one, just establishing the trust, that is really the foundation of our relationship. Openness and honesty. Neil doesn't expect me to just be that yes person, just agreeing to everything that he may want or that other members of the executive team wants. I feel comfortable and confident in sharing perspectives that I have or perspectives that I have knowledge and awareness of the more broad employee base, even if it doesn't necessarily align with his thought process. So we have the respect for each other that he can share things with me, I can share things with him that may not be aligned, but at the end of the day, that's what we need in order to have that really successful relationship.
Yeah.
But it's the trust there that allows us to have such a great working relationship. And then also just knowing that HR has to really understand business strategy. It's not we're just going to stay in our bubble and just have policies and procedures and that's all we focus on. Yeah. We really have to understand what's going on in the business to provide the best talent and people strategies.
Absolutely. And a question that we get a lot from HR professionals is, yes, we know that we need to develop that trust, but I'm struggling to break through. And I think a lot of that comes down to communication.
Yes.
And the way that you communicate your messages to other groups within the organization. If you had to give the other HR folks out there a tip for how to communicate messages that resonate with other leaders across functionalities, what would that advice be?
First, you have to get to know the partners, get to know the other leaders. Not everybody is wired the same way to want to get the data the same way or to have the same method of communication. It's work, but this is a foundation of the relationship and it allows you to be successful, especially in those critical moments where you need to influence and have that really strong collaboration with the other leaders.
Absolutely. It can be the same message, but the difference in how you deliver to different groups is really critical.
Yes.
What do you think when organizations don't give HR a voice in the room? What do you think those organizations are leaving on the table by not including them?
First and foremost, they cannot be successful forever if they're successful in that moment. There may be some short-term success or wins by getting something done, checking the box, but the long-term impact of not allowing or not having HR at the table is significant. People watch, meaning your employees will watch leaders. They will watch how an organization responds, especially in high turmoil type situations when there's a lot of change going on. If you miss having HR at the table, you're going to miss a perspective that may not be at the top of the minds of those who are focused on maybe just operations or just productivity. There's the people element of it. So again, going back to psychological safety, what are the masses thinking? How is this going to impact different employees as far as decisions that are made? What are some other elements of compliance or risk that we're not thinking about that goes beyond the operational side? It's more on the people side. Having HR at the table early, not just after the fact, after decisions are made. We have to be at the table in the beginning of those conversations because that eliminates rework if rework is needed. But it also allows us to be proactive with the strategies, being transparent with communications and messaging to our associates, which almost isn't always top of mind with some of the other leaders.
Absolutely. And I always say your employees at the end of the day, they keep the doors open. They keep the lights on.
Absolutely.
And HR has the best pulse on what's going on with them.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it impacts the business far more than I think a lot of people realize. So you mentioned turmoil. And HR is notorious for being a little bit of a punching bag. Through times of turmoil, it's HR. You take some hits. You have to deliver difficult messages a lot of the time that other leaders just don't quite want to deal with. And so it falls to you. How do you approach leading through those hard seasons as the leader of HR?
Within HR, I would say most people, hopefully, that are in this role, that have chosen this profession, are passionate about people. And so when it gets hard, we don't give up, but we stay rooted in the purpose that we have in the organization. So not only to be advocates for the employees, but also to marry that advocacy with the strategic direction of the business. If your business isn't successful, then you can't be successful for the employees. So when you think about why am I here, what is my purpose for HR professionals, and you go back to that foundation of I am here for the success of the people and for the success of the organization, hopefully that motivates you if you are truly passionate about what you do. You have a plan, you have a timeline, you stay transparent. It's not always a positive message to everyone. You have to be real in the messaging, but at least you have a plan and transparency and direction for the organization. And hopefully you get through that tough time.
And I think that a lot of HR leaders, when they have to lead through a tough time or deliver a difficult message to employees, they struggle with how am I ever going to gain this trust back or get our people moving in the right positive direction again. What kind of advice do you have for when that comes up in practice? Because it's a question we get a lot of the time.
How to maintain that trust.
Yeah.
How to get that trust back. You have to lean on, hopefully you have a great culture to start with. In tough times, you can't bypass the things that allow you to have or allows an organization to have a great culture. So you have to stay true to that. And you have to stay committed to the programs that are in place when things are going great. Culture is easy when things are going great, but stay committed when things are hard, because if you stay committed, and again, employees are going to watch everything that the leadership team does, that the management team does, stay true to your culture, to the purpose that the organization has, to being transparent, to being honest with your team, because if it comes out that you were not transparent and you weren't honest, trust is easy to lose, and it's hard to regain that trust.
Absolutely.
So you always have to be honest and transparent. Bring the employees along the way of the journey of whatever that tough time is, because you're going to get past that. And then in the positive times, employees will remember that. But when you hit that bump again, they're going to say, I can navigate this because I trust my team. I trust the leadership team. I trust my manager. I trust the organization to do what's right and to do everything that we can do to get us out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are some of the signals or red flags that leaders should be looking out for when they're actually losing their culture or things are kind of coming apart at the seams? What should they be listening for, looking for?
When employees go silent, that is not good.
That's good advice.
Because when people talk, at least you hear, even if you have to decipher what those messages are or the words that you're hearing. When employees stop talking, that is the biggest red flag that something's going to blow up. You're either going to have a mass exodus from your organization with employees leaving, just saying, I can't take this anymore, or you won't be able to plan how to navigate the difficulty because no one's talking. When your employees aren't talking to you, that means that they don't feel safe to talk to you. Is that a leadership issue? Is that a middle management issue? Is that an organizational issue? You don't know because no one's willing to talk. Talking and hearing from associates or employees is the best gift that an organization can have because it allows you to be proactive in responding to the needs of the talent that's helping you achieve your objectives. If you don't hear from your teams, then how are you going to be successful in either providing the service, manufacturing the product, delivering the product, whatever your ultimate goal is, you need that talent to help you get to that goal.
What's one strategy or structure that Oatey has in place to get that feedback from employees in an organized fashion that's not just you catching things in the hallway?
Yep. We have an open door policy, and we really stand behind that open door policy. Even if it's something we don't want to hear, come and tell us. We may not be able to give you everything that you're asking for. However, we will listen. We will respond and say, okay, let's give us some time to look into this. Or if it's something that we've looked into and we can't implement it, we're going to come back and tell you why.
Yeah.
But we want to encourage all of our associates, regardless of the level, from the lowest ranks to the highest ranks, please give us the feedback because that's what makes our organization thrive. When we hear from you, we can ensure that our environment aligns with the needs, the desires, and the wants of our team. And that should equate to success for the organization. It should be a place where people want to stay. And that permeates throughout the community.
Absolutely. That transparency and also the follow through. That seeing that people have been not just heard, but that you're doing something about it or can't do something about it. And here's why.
Yes.
That's key. All right, Dalithia, so you are not only the CHRO at Oatey, but you also just got your PhD from Case. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
All right, and you're also teaching at Case Western Reserve University. That says a lot about how you think about learning and the responsibility that HR leaders have to keep growing and keep educating themselves regardless of what level they reach. So what made you start to want to pursue that higher education and research when you've already accomplished so much in your career?
Yeah. I always knew I'm a lifelong learner, and I know, you know, that phrase, you can take it or leave it, but I'm truly a lifelong learner. So I knew I wanted to continue my education. When I was younger, I just didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. But throughout my career, throughout my leadership experience and that direct experience in organizations, I saw great leaders. I saw not so great leaders. I saw how organizations would thrive depending on how managers interacted with their employees. I saw successful organizations use data to inform their decisions. I saw not so successful organizations or departments just go off of a gut feel. So I wanted to learn the inner workings of that. I wanted to do my own research to say, how can I enhance my ability to bring value to organizations by taking real life examples, real stories, and bring that into the organization so we have a foundation of, we tried this. These are the results. This isn't just pull something out of the air. So I've been able to learn strategies for research, getting that evidence-based research, bringing that data into organizations so we can make informed decisions and not just the gut feel of how should we navigate this.
Yes. And so that evidence-based thinking, evidence-based research, that's something that you talk about a lot when we're on this topic. How have you been able to take that back and translate it to your day-to-day work at Oatey?
Yeah. I studied engagement and how associate outcomes lead to financial outcomes in organizations. That's really important. And I've been able to take that data, the real examples, the real feedback, the commentary, the numbers of people who gave feedback on, if you don't have a good leader, you're not going to be as motivated. You're not going to be as engaged. That equates to lower levels of retention. That directly affects the bottom line. And so there's a lot of data around when you don't have engaged associates, what does that do to the financial impact of the organization? If you don't have good strategies around people, around your leaders, because leaders impact how people feel, that will affect your bottom line. And you can't be just reactive to that. You have to be proactive, just like any other business strategy.
Wow. All right. I'm going to put you on the spot because this is a question that comes up a lot. So absolutely, the retention makes complete sense in terms of how it impacts you financially. What's one other way that you see that correlation between the engagement level of associates and the financial outcomes of the organization?
Yeah. There's research that was just released about AI and leader effectiveness with respect to if a leader is talking to their team members about AI, embracing AI, using and leveraging AI, the team is almost 80% more likely to say AI has had a positive impact on their job if their leader embraces it, if their leader is intentionally talking to them about it.
Wow.
We've learned and we know leaders have such an impact on their team. If you have a disengaged leader, that's going to have a 70% impact on your team members.
Wow. All right, Dalithia, you've done all of these things. As a lifelong learner, can you give us a little bit of insider scoop? What is your next move? What are you thinking about? Now that you got that PhD, what are you doing?
Anyone who knows me always hears me say, I love what I do. I love being able to develop people strategy, partner on the business objectives and tying that to people strategy, but then also have even more impact from an academia standpoint. How do we ensure that our students are learning what needs or what they need to have to be successful when they enter the working world? So how do we bring together the academic focus and marry that with the needs of the business for everyone to be successful? Students, whether it's undergrad or grad, but then also the corporations, the organizations are getting what they need in order to have a strong employee base. So I want to continue to teach. Hopefully in the very near future, you'll see some publications in a book and things like that from me. So there's still a lot that I want to do.
That's super exciting. I will be first in line. That's awesome, Dalithia. And I think with the teaching in particular, so Case Western Reserve is a local university to Cleveland, but it is renowned across the country and the world for research and the impact it has. But it's so cool that it's in Cleveland. And one of the things I think is you are making a larger impact outside of Oatey, but on the larger community. And that's always been something that's really important to you.
Yes, I love my city. Many people will move away from Cleveland. I think we have a lot of opportunity. Continual opportunities are being realized by our city. We have some challenges, but I think
everybody does.
Everybody does. But it's important for me to give back because there have been so many people that have helped me in my journey to achieve the career that I have right now. I didn't start in HR. I started on the business side, but because of an introduction by an HR director actually at Ernst & Young, where I used to work, he introduced me to HR. And I'm so thankful for that because I never thought about HR as a career. But it was the best thing that ever happened because I truly love what I do. So it's important for me to give back, to share my story with people. So if that gives any inspiration or hope that just push through the challenges, because I've had a lot of challenges. I've had a lot of bumps in the road and bumped my head plenty of times. And so if anyone can learn from the mistakes that I made, that's how I want to give back and continue to contribute both professionally in my personal life and the community and just keep having fun with it because, again, I love what I'm doing.
That's a great example of how kind of your past experience has informed the way that you do your job today. And I'm very curious with your background and your other past experiences, how have those things shaped the way that you think about representation and mentorship? Unfortunately,
there's not a lot of people that look like me in senior level executive positions. And that was actually one of my research studies because when I look at Fortune 500 organizations and how many African Americans run those organizations, or in general, how many African Americans are in CEO positions, or how many women are in CEO positions, there's not a lot of us. And so it's really important to say, okay, I want to strive for this. I know this may not be the norm, but how do I make it happen? How do I pave that path for myself and for me? How do I help people see if you want to get here, this is how you can manage it for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. And in practice, I'm curious if you had to give someone a playbook, if you will, about the way even that you approached that from a practical standpoint, what is the step-by-step that you would recommend they follow?
Don't discount any audience or any group that could potentially help you. Some of the greatest mentors that I've had have been and still are white men.
Yeah.
However, there are some mentors that I have that are Black women.
Yeah.
So never discount a group because of either past experiences or assumptions about what one group may or may not help you do. Get to know people, and the people that you look to and you see they've been successful in whatever that they've been successful in, reach out to them, learn from them. But don't discount anyone or don't shy away from anyone just because you assume that they may not be willing to help you. That would be the best advice, because I've always, if I have a relationship with someone or see someone has achieved something and I want to learn from them, I just ask. I talk to them. And you'd be surprised how many people are willing to help, but you just have to reach out and have the conversation.
That's brilliant advice. And also comes back to confidence, right?
Yes.
There's no reason not to ask, not to reach out. Just like you get out of your own head and you just say, I'm going to ask anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. All right. And in terms of Northeast Ohio, I'm curious what you love most about leading here.
Because it's home.
Yeah.
It's home. I love leading here. I do love doing the speaking engagements and training and telling a story and bringing the research into the real life of the organizations. But Northeast Ohio is home. We have so many passionate people here who want to see our region thrive. There's so much that our region has to offer.
Absolutely.
So one of the reasons why I love being here, great nonprofits, philanthropic opportunities,
Absolutely.
great people, opportunities to succeed. You can raise a family here with great schools. There's so much to offer. And then if you want to see and explore other places, just travel. But this is a great place to be able to give back and to thrive in the career that you have. This is a great place to be, to get that support and to help you propel, if you will, in the things that you want to do.
That's a fantastic perspective. And something else I talk about with a lot of guests on this show is the difference in a Cleveland employee and the psychology behind, and obviously there are wonderful, dedicated employees everywhere, but there's something about the Cleveland people. There's a little extra grit. There's a little extra something. I'm curious, how would you describe that?
You said it, the grit.
Yeah.
We don't give up.
Yeah.
We work hard, we have fun, but we don't give up. We see challenges or problems. How can we dig into this? How can we rally together to resolve this issue? And we do it in a way that we collaborate, but people are genuinely nice here.
Yeah.
We're welcoming. You may not get that everywhere. You may not get that same tenacity with kindness.
Tenacity with kindness. Yes. I love that. That's a great way to describe it. All right, Dalithia, we have reached the point in the show called HR Hot Seat. This is a game that we play, and these are rapid fire questions, so answer in as much or as little detail as you want.
Okay.
Just whatever pops in your head. You ready to go?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right, let's do it. What's one HR phrase that you would be happy to never hear again?
I'm a people person.
I'm a people person.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of HR people will say that, and we are people, but don't say I'm a people person.
I like it. All right. What's one thing people would be surprised to learn about CHROs?
Wow, that we are really business people. We know the HR side. We're professionals and experts on the HR side, but we desire to connect our HR expertise to the business. Yeah. We want to be deeply involved and embedded in the business strategy, the financials, the future vision. How are we creating our strategy? Yeah. So we're not just about policies and procedures.
That's great. I think a lot of people will be really interested to hear that one. All right. You're apparently very good at bad jokes. All right. You got to tell us one.
Let's see. Okay. So one that I recently heard was, what part of your body can you really rely on the most?
I don't know. What part of your body can you really rely on the most?
Your fingers, because you can always count on them.
Oh, my God.
That is so bad, but it's good.
I don't think it's bad. It seems so obvious after the fact, but you stumped me for a minute. That's awesome.
Yes.
All right. What is one thing that you wish every CEO understood about HR?
that we really want to be that strategic partner
Yeah.
in the business. So don't bring us in after the fact.
Yeah.
Don't think about the people side after the fact. We can definitely help the organization achieve the mission, the objectives, and the financial impact or positioning that is so desired. HR shouldn't be the execution, meaning everybody else is making decisions on what we should do, and now let's just give it to HR to do it. HR needs to be right there in the beginning of that conversation to help build the strategy. How do we pull the data? What process are we going to go through? Why are we doing this? And how is it going to affect the people? When you think about all of those things together, that is what creates the best formula for success for organizations. So CEOs, executive teams have to realize the people element of it is still strategic, just like operations and everything else. You have to think about the people and how that ties into everything that the organization has to focus on.
Absolutely. And now I'm going to ask you the flip side. What is one thing that you wish every employee understood about HR?
Let's see, that we're here for them. However, we also have to balance the advocacy for employees with business performance and the business objectives. So that may mean sometimes saying, I know you want to do this, or I know you want X, Y, and Z, but this is why we can or cannot do it. So we're going to be advocates for you, but we also have to be good stewards of the business and ensure that we're operating in the optimal way for the business so everyone can be successful in the end.
That's a good one. All right. If you could give younger Dalithia one piece of career advice, what would that be?
Don't question if you belong in the room. So my skills, experiences, knowledge, expertise is just as valuable as anyone else's. So don't question if I belong in the room and if I add value.
It all comes back to confidence.
Exactly.
Yes. That's a fantastic answer. All right, Dalithia, this was such a thoughtful conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. That is it for today's episode of What's Up at Work. Huge thanks to Dalithia Smith for joining us on the show. Remember, if you like this conversation, be sure to leave us a review and subscribe so you never miss an episode. And until next time, keep leading, keep learning, and stay curious about what's up at work. We hope you enjoyed this episode of What's Up at Work. Now it's time to get out there and start building better workplaces. If you need help with where to start, ERC has your back. Head to yourerc.com for exclusive HR tools, insights, and resources to help you attract and retain top talent. And keep tuning into What's Up at Work for more strategies and secrets to help leaders like you create thriving workplaces. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.